Hello, guys. Welcome to Straighting News TV. I'm your host, Joey Tabor. Today, I'm joined by three guests to preview the Swansea game. Going from left to right on my screen, Aiden, say hello. How you doing?
You alright? Yeah, after technical difficulties last week, I'm happy to be back on. Cheers.
Good to have you. The other half of the two foul-mouthed Yanks, Pasha, how you doing?
I'm fine, mate. Thanks. Appreciate it for having me on.
And last but certainly not least, you might have seen his name going around Twitter today. He reported some news on Seelison. Phil, how you doing?
I'm doing good, lads. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. And I guess we'll start real quick with some news. Johnny Evans apparently heading to West Bromwich Albion, £6 million, maybe rising to 8. A lot of fans are probably happy to see him go on the backs of maybe 2 years where he didn't play his best. But before that, he was really a promising player. I remember him when he was partnered with Ferdinand or Vidic. He was an all right player. I remember him playing at the Bernabeu in the Champions League a few seasons ago and doing well. Melvin, talk about Johnny Evans leaving. You're disappointed that one of our academy players hasn't quite lived up to the standards that we kind of expect.
Well, I suppose so, but we do have a lot of other ones, and yeah, I mean, he's still had an amazing Man United career. I think he's had 9 medals, so it's not as though he's been a failure forever. As you say, he was good in his time, but now it is best for the club because he isn't up to the standard what we require. Unfortunately, he hasn't hit that potential, so of course it's best for the club if he leaves. And West Brom, Fletcher's doing perfectly well. I'm sure they'll be friends, so I'm sure he'll fit in very easily there. And yeah, I think he'll do well when the pressure's off, because I think later on in the last 2 years, for whatever reason, I think the pressure was a little bit too much for him, the pressure of the crowd, etc. And it's just best for both parties. And 6 million for a player who's only got 1 year left, who didn't really perform very well or even play much last season. Pretty good deal, to be honest, with 2 million add-ons. So yeah, good for all parties, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I remember last year he passed the ball back twice in a game and got absolutely slaughtered. There's some other news with Tyler Blackett might be going on loan to Celtic. Pasha, with Evans out and Blackett on loan, possibly to Celtic, from what I've heard, and Phil Jones suffering from what appears to be blood clots, which is nothing to mess about. Do you think United are in for center back, or do you think they're happy with current options?
That's a tough one. I mean, if we think about it now, obviously we know what LG's philosophy likes, the right-footed, left-footed combination. Now, if you look at the left-footed combination, we don't have enough depth in that, do we? Daley Blind is just sliding in because Marcus Rowe was just playing Copa America, and he's still not match fit. And as we know, as you said it always, he's a utility player. He could play in center mid and stuff. We do need a center back. Now, we have a lot of right-footed. I think the market we should have gone for a left center back footed player, but we do need a center back at this rate, especially if the rumors are that Johnny Evans is leaving and Tyler Blackett is out. However, I could still see him relying on our youngsters right now. Right now Chris Smalling has been a rock in the back. He's turning into a true leader. Phil Jones, he's always has ups and downs, and you see Paddy McNair coming to the ranks, another Irish footballer. So it's a tough one to say, because at this point I could honestly say that who are we going to go after if we were trying to get one, and I don't think we will, to be honest. I think he's happy with what we have now, because especially now with something's Carrick could be slotted back in the center back position. I don't think we're going to go, but if we do, I think he'll go after left center back. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the one name that keeps cropping up, that I think the Manchester Evening News keeps linking us to is Laporta, who signed a new contract, has a buyout clause somewhere around £35 million. He's a young French player for Bilbao, and apparently he's going to be one of the best center backs in Europe. So moving on from those two, the Champions League group draw was yesterday. We didn't get a chance to do a like a reaction to that, but we did talk about on the review for Club Bruges. We kind of discussed who we would want in the groups, and you're looking at this group, Phil. PSV, who we haven't beaten away in the Champions League. CSKA Moscow, which is a tough away trip, especially if you look at October's schedule. and Wolfsburg, who, while they're losing their best player, I believe they're beating Schalke right now 3-0. So is it as easy as it looks, Phil, or should we be not concerned, but not so confident that we think we're just going to breeze through this group?
I don't think United are in a position right now where they can look at Europe and take anything for granted. I think that United just aren't good enough to do that anymore. I think in previous seasons this would have been a straightforward group. But I think United play City in the derby right before they have to go away to Russia. So these away fixtures, Germany, Wolfsburg are probably the second wealthiest club in Germany next to Bayern. So that's not going to be easy. I think that's the last game. So when you look at the group, Van Gaal would know PSV well. It's still a group that United will look upon favourably, but it's not easy. And I think United can't approach Europe and be overconfident about anything. I mean, look at the group United went out of the year in Ferguson's last year. It was probably easier than this.
Yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about. We ended up in the Europa League, and then I think we got dumped out by Bilbao, and Herrera had a great performance at Old Trafford. Aiden, which team are you looking most forward to playing? You have Wolfsburg in Germany, who just seem to have a great atmosphere. You have Memphis returning to PSV, or you have CSKA Moscow, who's a tricky fixture with some crazy fans as well.
I'm looking most forward to the PSV game because they've got a lot of upcoming talents, etc. And yeah, Memphis returning to his old club should be good. I mean, PSV have seemed as though they're excited by Memphis returning as well. So I think that'll be a really, really good game. I'm not looking forward to the CSKA Moscow away trip because it's Russia. So yeah, the team will undoubtedly get fatigued. And I think the game straight after that is the Manchester derby, which isn't great because they play Sevilla, who are a difficult team, but they are obviously Spanish. They don't have to travel the miles. But Wolfsburg as well should be a good game, and it should be easily winnable since De Bruyne and Perisic, two of their better players, will have probably gone by the time we play them. So yeah, that'll be a good game as well, but definitely PSV is the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I think there's some great storylines there. It's a close trip. We were speaking about, that Russia trip. I think it's Arsenal, Everton, CSKA, and then the derby. So that is going to be a very tough stretch. Moving on, Ander Herrera's performance the other night. He didn't start well. He got a yellow card in the first 15 minutes. Schweinsteiger comes on at halftime, and he gets pushed up into the number 10 spot. And that's where we kind of saw, he for me, I've been asking for him to play there. He can keep the play moving. He's got a good, he's creative enough. And now Van Gaal has actually hinted at him playing there. Adnan Januzaj will miss the game on Sunday through injury. So there's talk that maybe Ander Herrera will play there. I think he will because Marouane Fellaini's only played, I think, 10 minutes. Van Gaal with his thing. You have to travel around the world, solve a Rubik's Cube and turn water into wine before you can get back into the team from injury or, fitness. So with that being said, Pasha, would that be something you like to see, Ander Herrera up in the number 10 spot? And what other qualities, other than Januzaj or any other number 10 we have, can he offer?
Yeah, obviously we all know that Ander Herrera when he played for Bilbao, the best they got out of him was playing the number 10 role. As soon as he played in that position, we saw how openly we opened him up more, and just how great of a link-up play we saw against Memphis, Rooney, Herrera, and Mata. Just great. One-touch first football game that we want to see, basically the attacking United way, as we like to see. Obviously, I would like to see Herrera in the number 10 role as much as we do, and I think that for now, because of how great of a depth we have right now in center mid, I think for now he feels that Herrera is best to play more in an advanced role. I do want to see him, and I hope he does, but once again, he could also be name-dropping in a press conference to play mind games, and then you could plug Fellaini in there, you could drop back Rooney in the number 10 role, let Fellaini play up top. It could be all mind games. I do hope so, but once again, it just comes back to is what Louis van Gaal is thinking. Is he honestly a kind of player that we want to play against Swansea? I think so, but the man is a different kind of animal. So I do think so because we know how Herrera's class. He opens plays. He opens the defensive against knowing how Swansea is really compact. They play a very great game, and we're playing at the Liberty Stadium away, so we do need him. But once again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Fellaini starting and he doesn't get a crack at it. But it seems like he will.
Yeah, and moving on to Swansea, last season, first game of the year, they ended up winning 2-1, and then later in the spring, winners, I think it was in January, February, we played them again, and John Joe Selvey hit one from distance, and we lost again. They seem to be our bogey team in the last few seasons. Knocked us out of the FA Cup in the third round, I think, Phil. Can you talk about the job that Gary Monk has done and the type of football they're playing over there in Swansea?
Wow, he's done a fantastic job. I think what he's shown is that you don't have to have a lot of money to play exciting attacking football. Most people think when you don't have a lot of money, you have to kill games and don't play football because you open up against good teams, you're going to get beat. Jefferson Montero is going to give Darmian his strongest test, and young Darmian's he's been, let's be honest, sensational. He's going to have it's going to have to be on his game at the weekend. Gary Monk's done a fantastic job at Swansea with not a lot of money. He always buys well. They're a bit like Southampton in that they're very methodical about the players that they buy. They very rarely get a player pushed on them by an agent. They usually think about who they want in their positions before that player leaves, and if they do leave, then they're prepared to make a move. As far as the Ander Herrera thing goes, look, he has to play. It just seems frustrating. It seems like there's a different standard of what's acceptable for different players. I mean, we watch players toil week in, week out, always play, and then Herrera, Van Gaal says he wanted to take him off after 12 minutes. I mean, that's ridiculous to me. Prior to the game against Bruges, Wayne Rooney looked like Michael J. Fox at a shooting gallery. I mean, his shots are flying everywhere, right? And he you hit a target. So once Herrera comes in, brings a bit of composure, opens teams up, lovely passing, plays him in the advanced number 10 role, adds a whole different dimension to United. He has to play.
Yeah, it is frustrating because when he does play, he's probably our most consistent player. That game against Newcastle, he brings Valencia on when, maybe I think he should have brought Herrera on because, Herrera can create a bit of magic. Valencia just, does a step over, goes to the byline and tries to smash it across. Granted, he almost did score. I think Colaccini blocked it. But Valencia shouldn't be getting on the pitch, I think, ahead of Ander Herrera. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion. You touched on Jefferson Montero. There's going to be some key battles, and we'll talk about a few of them. Jefferson Montero absolutely destroyed Branislav Ivanovic in the first game of the season, Aiden. What do you think? Do you think this is, like Phil said, this is Darmian's big test, first big test, I would say. You looking forward to that battle? And can you talk about what Darmian might be able to do to slow him down?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one, to be honest. It will be a real test, but I think Darmian can handle him. And I think it's just his positional awareness. Like, he seems to be in position all the time, and he seems to have a good, I don't know what you would call it, kind of chemistry with the centre-backs. He always seems to be there, ready to clear up if there's a mistake, etc. So hopefully he can do that against a lot more pace, because it'll be a lot faster, and obviously I suppose he's come up against fast players in the Serie A, but I don't think they'll have had the strength that the players in the Premier League do. In terms of other key battles, etc., you've got Sigurdsson, who's just a magician in the central of the park. You look at why Spurs sold him, it's just ludicrous. He's been absolutely terrific for Swansea. Ayew, another one. Montero, they've got so many quality players. You've got Gomis now, who's on form, and they've beat us twice last season, so there's no way I'm going to underestimate this. They beat Arsenal twice last season as well, so they're up for the big fixtures, and this is not going to be easy at all. But if we do win, then it shows that we can beat these sort of teams away, which is something we didn't really do last season. We need to beat them now that we've drew against Newcastle, because 8 points from 12 isn't good enough. We need 10. We could have maybe afforded to drop 2 points if we'd have beat Newcastle, but we didn't, so it's a must-win, but it's going to be very difficult. And yeah, it'll be a very entertaining game. I can't see Swansea sitting back, so maybe that'll give us chances to attack them.
Yeah, when teams have to come out and play football, it seems that we play better. But, Gary Monk might also see how teams, set up and try and counter us. And with the pace of Montero and Ayew, it could be, trouble for us, because Van Gaal will want to control the game and he'll want to keep possession. Another key battle, Pasha, will be Bafatimbi Gomez versus Daley Blind. Now, I imagine that Chris Smalling will try and get on him more, but there's going to be times where Blind is going to be on Gomez. Is that something you're worried about? Because it seems that every week it's been, well, Daley Blind's going to get destroyed by Harry Kane, and then it was what's his name, Rudy Gestede, and then it was Club Bruges striker, and it just seems like every week we're going to repeat the same thing until he does give up a goal, and then people are going to go nuts. Well, we should have bought a center back. This is always going to happen against this and that.
I think our fans are turning more fickle than ever before. To just keep complaining over and over. Look at the game against Aston Villa. We all know Daley Blind. When he came to the ranks of Ajax, yes, he was a center back. Against Gestede, he did a good job. Yes, Gomez is a different kind of player and stuff. But once again, the guy could possibly do the job. But who else are you gonna slot in there? To be honest, especially if Blackett is going to go out and, Marcus Rowe just played 60 minutes. He might be possibly on the bench. So I still think Daley Blind will do still a decent job. But for me, honestly, I think the key battle for me is that knowing that Key isn't going to be there. Because we know Key battered us in the home opener and throughout when we played him again. And knowing he's not there, the way he controls the game, he dictates the game, I think he's an influential player. He won't be there. My biggest battle, I think, is that if we control Jack Cork or John Joe Shelby, we could win possibly the game. If we dominate that midfield, Jefferson Montero, Sigurdsson, Gomez, Andre, Ayo, they won't get a crack at it, I think it comes down to the battle. If we control the game, right, if we control Swansea and don't let them attack us, we give it to them, we'll be marching onwards, right? But if we just sit back and let them come to us, we're most likely going to concede and lose the match because Swansea at home, it's very difficult to beat them. As we've seen that last year, they beat us 2 times. So it's more pressure on us, and they just need to control the game. But I still believe that I trust Daley Blind. I think he could, put in a good shift for us until Rojo comes back.
Phil, how important is this game early on? We heard Aiden talk about, the points dropped against Newcastle, and it probably should have been a win, and then maybe we could have afforded to draw this game. Is this, already a big game in our season to prove that we can, face a tough team on the road? That's not, Aston Villa is tough, but they're not as good of a footballing side as Swansea. How important is it for us to, set this marker down and get Rome?
Well, you can't win the league early on, but you can lose it. I don't think United can win the league this year. I think it's an enormous ask. But the momentum is really important, especially about to go into an international break. This is not a crucial game in the sense that the 3 points will make a huge amount of difference to United's season. But there's a lot of important positions at United that are up for grabs. The goalkeeping position, De Gea will most likely leave the club next week, from what I'm told. So they're expecting him to leave Monday. The goalkeeping position is going to be up for grabs. The centre-back situation, as good a job as Daley Blind has done, the part where I do sympathise with United is it's impossible to bring in so many new signings in one summer, but this centre-back position is not old or not new, and United really should have addressed this. It should have been one of the first signings they made in the summer was a centre-back. You shouldn't be hoping Daley Blind does a job. He could do a job. Probability says he's not a centre-back, and over a course of a season, he's going to get found out. So they should have really addressed it. So the Sergio Ramos situation has not ended well for United. This has been embarrassing, and this is something that the club are going to have to get better at. But so it's an important game in the sense that United. These are the games that United really struggled with last season. These mid-table teams that let's be honest, play football. There's no excuses for not winning because they're not going to sit with 10 men behind the ball. So given United start in the league, psychologically, it's really important.
Yeah, and staying with you, Phil, who do you put that blame on of not buying a center back? Is it just that one's not available? Is it Woodward? Is it Van Gaal saying they're not good enough? And then I've heard you're the second person I've been told that De Gea is leaving Monday. £30 million, being the transfer fee, and now the Johnny Evans thing. That's going to put United at a plus 30 or whatever. They've received £30 million and talking about net spend. We we've been told with the Adidas deal, the Champions League money, the club is going to spend big. And to be fair, they did last summer. It didn't work out, for most of these players. And then they bought smart when Schweinsteiger, Schneiderlin, Darmian, some of the best buys I think in the Premier League this season, maybe in Europe. Can you touch on some of the things we just talked about?
Well, first of all, from 2005, I've been an extremely vocal critic of the Glazers and their net spend over that period. Although I really don't think that's a big issue this year. I think that it's skewed with the fact that Angel Di Maria was sold, and it's skewed with the fact that United played a stupid waiting game with Sergio Ramos that they lost. I had an interview lined up with Frank de Boer. They asked us the questions we would want to ask him, and they asked us not to ask about Cillessen when they previously agreed that it was okay. So you can read into that what you want. And then they asked us to do the interview after the transfer window. So I would appear that most likely Cillessen is going to be the guy that's going to replace David De Gea. United like the way they like his ability on the ball. They like the fact he's almost a sweeper keeper. So Franz Hoek likes him. I was talking to Mark Ogden about it today. He said exactly the same thing. So I would expect it to be Cillessen. The centre-half situation is the collective responsibility. Both United and Woodward waited on the Sergio Ramos deal. Look, Sergio Ramos gets offered to United every year, but they wanted him. To be fair, there's not an abundance of centre-halves out there to choose from. But if this had been in reverse, Real Madrid would have got the player. And Manchester United need to be doing a much better job at this. And I think this is where Woodward needs to improve. United signings last season were opportunistic. Other than Shaw and Herrera, they were really agent-driven. So they gambled and lost. And I'm amazed they don't muscle in on John Stones for so many different reasons. Everton want Johnny Evans. United need a young centre-half. He's English. It would be an opportunity to put one over on Chelsea with Pedro. Everton would prefer to sell to United, but they're not involved.
Yeah, I've been saying the same thing. At this point, John Stones is young. He's English. He's quality. How much longer are we going to wait for Phil Jones to come good? You saw the run he got last season when we had that brilliant run, and he was playing well, but. Other than that, he just can't stay healthy. And at what point do you pull the plug? Because now we're going into the season with, McNair, Smalling. Smalling's been fantastic, don't get me wrong. McNair, Smalling, Rojo, Blind, and Jones, who's got blood clots. I don't think I left anyone out. But I don't want to see Michael Carrick playing there. I don't want to see Daley Blind playing there. We should be, like you said, it's tough to try and win the league because I watched a video the other day of the Moyes season. It was, and some of the pundits on there were saying, this is going to take, years to fix transfer windows. And not, I'm not even going to count the winter transfer window. We're 2 summer transfer windows in. People always talk about the amount of money they spent last season and all that, but we're not just building a starting 11. We're building an entire squad. You can't forget that. And it is going to take another summer window. The only thing I can say is hopefully there's a few days left. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, I mean, from what it was 2 seasons ago to where we're at now, we have to, in my opinion, a successful season is top 3, a cup, and maybe quarterfinals or there is potentially some very tough teams we could face in that first knockout stage. Sevilla, Juventus, one of those two. The Barcelona group, I think they have Bayer Leverkusen, who are a very good team, and they were, I think, a penalty shootout away from the round of 16 or the quarterfinals. Roma's in that group, so you just want to see constant progression and good football as well.
Yeah.
So talking about that, Aiden, give me your starting 11 for this week, and we'll go through the panel and we'll get their starting 11, who they would play.
Well, I think the back 5 should remain unchanged like it has for the whole season. This is a good test. This is a really good test to see if Blind and Smalling can actually do anything against, a kind of stronger, more attackive opposition, same as Darmian and Shaw, who've impressed. I think it's got to be Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin in the midfield, or Schneidlin and Carrick. I think you can't have Carrick and Schweinsteiger in the same team because they're two similar players, but I would pick Schweinsteiger and Schneidlin. Schweinsteiger's passing range seems to be very, very good. His assist against Club Brugge for the Herrera goal was top-notch, and it would be great to see that, and him form a partnership with Schneidlin. I'd have Herrera in the number 10, definitely, although I think Fellaini will bring another dimension. I think he should be a kind of player that'll come off the bench. He'll be a plan B. Might be an expensive plan B at 27.5 million, but that's where he's best at because teams aren't set up to deal with him. And then when he comes off the bench, he causes all sorts of havoc, and that's what he's good at. So Herrera, number 10, he was absolutely fantastic for the 25 minutes he played there. Goal, assist. And then on the wings, I would have Memphis and Mata. We don't really have anyone else on the right, and I think Herrera and Mata interlink very well anyway. And I put Rooney up front. Hopefully he can end his goal drought in the Premier League after that hat-trick. Hopefully it gave him some confidence. I want to see him make the runs that he did against Bruges because it seemed to work a lot more. He seemed to be on the last man instead of retaining the ball in the midfield. Hopefully he doesn't have to do that against Swansea because that's when he's just out of position and he's never going to score because he's got to run back. So hopefully he stays on the last man and our midfielders do a lot of the work. So, yeah. That's my predicted lineup, to be honest. So it's very similar, and it is a one that I wanted to start against Spurs. So yeah, it would be good to see.
Yeah, I think I have the same exact one. I agree with the Carrick and Schweinsteiger thing. If you listen to the commentators a few games ago, they think that they're just Van Gaal's sitting there waiting for Carrick to make a mistake or something like that, so that he can put Schweinsteiger fully back into the team. I think Schneiderlin needs to be, no matter what, the other starting midfielder in just about every important game because he's younger, he's quicker, he keeps the ball moving. He doesn't do a sexy job, and that's fine with me. I'd rather, if we're just, not, I don't know what I'm looking for, but he keeps the ball moving and he doesn't stand out. Pasha?
Yeah, just quickly going back to the center back partnership, I just want to say, defense wins you titles. You look at right now City, you look at Chelsea's center back when they, John Terry has started off really poorly, but defense wins you titles. Now, do you think Chris Smalling and Daley Blind have all the likes to win us a title? It's tough. We don't have Fergie anymore. Maybe he could have, but once again, we should have addressed that issue. However, for some reason we didn't, and I guess because he's just gonna bank on the likes of more youth and Phil Jones and stuff. But coming back to the Everton game, my lineup will be simply as Melvin said, probably Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin, Herrera in the number 10 role, right wing Mata, left wing Memphis and Rooney up top, and with the same defense that we had. And if we bring Silasson in, even he's going to be really shaky because he's got to get adapted, and then he has to have the likes of, Smalling and Daley Blind ahead of him, even though Smalling has been great. But, it's another transition period, It's another hard time. We should have addressed this earlier, We keep waiting and waiting, playing all these mind games. Ramos is a magista. I don't know why we waited, especially when we just when they just sold Casillas, The fans would have wanted Perez beheaded if they were trying to sell Ramos. So once again, I never understood that concept. I never saw Ramos leaving, but I think it's gonna backstop us, especially with the more games we're gonna be in the Champions League. These players might get fatigued at some point, and we need depth. And bringing likes of McNair and Jones center back and trying to rely on them, and then they're gonna get battered from our own fans because they're not doing a good job. It just comes back. We just need a quality striker. We need an animal. We need an Nemanja Vidic, and that was Nicolas Otamendi. It's not the end of the world, but that's just my thing. Defense wins you titles, and I don't think Chris Smalling and Daley Blind is enough for us to win the title. As much as Chris Smalling has been great, I love the kid. He's done a wonderful job, but once again, defense wins you titles, and we needed more quality depth for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't disagree with anything you say. Something I will touch on is, and Phil was talking about Ed Woodward. It seems that he needs to humble himself just a little bit because to me, he seems like a really cocky guy. He comes on two summers ago to the MUTV and he gives that interview where transfer fees don't mean nothing and we want the best players in the world. And it seems like his overconfidence failed to get us Sergio Ramos. From what it sounds like, it was never going to happen. We've seen United linked with players to get better contracts. And even the Pedro thing, it seems like, I don't know if that quote is true, so I'll reserve judgment, but something like, oh, well, we have bigger targets than Pedro, and he'll be forgotten soon. I think he just needs to humble himself a little bit and stop being so cocky in the transfer market and just do his job. I just feel like emotions like that aren't good when you're the guy in charge of transfers and for the biggest club in the world. Phil, anything you'd like to add to what I was just saying, and your starting 11?
I'll get the starting 11 last. To be honest, Woodward in person is actually a really nice guy. I just honestly think his issue is he's inexperienced and he's naive. I think that when you get to the world of the players that United are after, Manchester United are just another club to these players. Manchester United are just another high-end football club that aren't in a desirable city. United are not in Paris, they're not in Rome, they're not in Milan, they're not in London. They haven't won a European Cup since 2008. They haven't bought at the top of the market for a long time, really, other than last season. And I think that Ed Woodward in the market is just like anybody in a job where it takes a while before you get to know certain people, and the top end of football is dominated by one guy, Jorge Mendes, and everybody's his friend at the high end. The bottom line is this, and United aren't the only club with this problem. The best players go to Spain, and English clubs get their cast-offs. Mesut Ozil, Alexis Sanchez, all those players are players that Real Madrid, Barcelona don't want. Angel Di Maria, if they go for those players, even with the British players like Gareth Bale, English clubs have a problem. So he's competing for the best players because I think he genuinely wants to bring that type of player to Manchester United, but realizing that it's very, very difficult to do it. And, Chelsea had this problem, City had this problem, and if you look at City signings, they're spending 100 million on De Bruyne and Raheem Sterling. One of them's already in England, and one of them has already been in England, and neither of them it would make a top 10 list of the best players in the world. So, United have difficulties in the market, and the problems they need to solve are going to cost a lot of money, but those players are not easy to get, and some of it's naivety. But the starting 11, for me, will be the same as what happened, same as what we saw at Bruges, with the only exception being Januzaj obviously coming out. Herrera will play in that number 10 role, and my guess is it'll be Carrick and Schneiderlin will start, with Schweinsteiger on the bench.
Excellent. So, dumb question, Phil. I guess the best thing that United can do is get back to winning ways to try to attract these top players, because geographically, like you said, they're not in a great and there's nothing you can do about that.
Well, obviously winning helps, but look, these players don't care about history. They don't care about anything like that. We were a great team. We've done this. We've had the Busby Babes. None of that's relevant. I'm not saying it doesn't help, but the best players in the world have choices. So yeah, being in the Champions League, offering the ability to win trophies is definitely something that is attractive. But when you're talking about the very best players in the world, they can get that anywhere. They can get that at Barcelona. They can get that at Real Madrid. And with the money that's coming into Italian football, the league that will suffer the most will be England, because the South American players which swapped Italy for England culturally will adapt in Italy much quicker than they will in England. And if the money comes into Italy that's coming in and continues, and they take that other coefficient spot off England, English clubs need to be really careful.
Yeah, some excellent insight, and I hope that I think more fans do need to hear about that these players don't care about our history. They don't care about any of that. You're absolutely right. They can get that everywhere. Aiden, can I have your score prediction? And real quick before that, I'd like to thank all that have watches. Mr. Anti-Functional, Daryl, MUFC Stimson, Carol. There was Sam Rafferty. Also, don't forget, who's Insaladino, is one of my friends on Twitter. Thank you all for watching. If you could, just please put a like on the video. Give us your score prediction, and I'll read a few out with your goal scorers. So, Aiden, goal scorers and prediction.
Right, well, generally, I think we can win, but I'm not going to be so naive. They've beat us twice last year, and I'm going to say 2-2. Literally, I think, you know, we will get exploited a bit, and I think it will be a highly contested draw. I really hope I'm wrong. I want to win. I really think we can, but I'm going to say 2-2. I'm going to see Rooney's going to get his first Premier League goal, and I think Matt will get one. And for them, I think Ayew and Sigurdsson, in my opinion. 2-2.
Pasha?
Yeah, I think we're going to get really frustrated playing them. I think 2-1, we're going to nick it. It won't be the great United way that we all fans want to play. Like, you know, as we see Chelsea, they don't care how they play. You know, just want to win the game. So it's more results for them. 2-1. That's my personal prediction. I think we could win it.
Phil?
If Herrera plays in number 10, I see United scoring a couple of goals. I think they're weak at the back, and I think United will win 2-1, 2-0.
I'm going to go 2-1 as well with Herrera and Rooney and Ayew for them. I think it's going to be an exciting game. I think it's going to be two teams trying to play attacking football, and I hope I am right. Also, Hamdan, thank you for watching. He asked, what about me? If you guys could, please put a like on the video. Leave us a comment with anything you would like us to see in the future, anything that we've touched on. Also, subscribe to the channel. Aiden, let them know where they can find you on Twitter and your YouTube channel.
It's at Melvin7 on Twitter and also YouTube, and I upload Manchester United videos, reviews, previews, FIFA videos, etc. And yeah, I talk Manchester United primarily on Twitter as well. So yeah, at Melvin7.
There's also usually a cat on his bed who he likes to scare. He does live reaction videos to the goals, so it's quality. Check it out, guys. Pasha, where can they find you on Twitter?
At PASA021.
Anything else you'd like to say?
No, I mean, fuck
No
Donald
shout-outs?
Trump.
No
Fuck
nothing?
Donald Trump. No.
Phil, you got some stuff going on, on the radio and other things. Can you let people know where they can find you on Twitter and everything else?
Yeah, as long as you're not immigration or taxman, you can find me at Malachians, MALACHIANS on Twitter, and of course, I do Sirius XM FC radio a few days a week, Monday, Saturday, and Friday at TalkSport and all over the place. So that's where you can get me.
So you heard that here. Don't report him to Donald Trump, because then he'll have to go on the other. He'll have to go on the other side of the wall. So thank you for watching again. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. I'm Joey Tabor. Same thing on Twitter. So hopefully we'll see you Sunday night for Shreddy Sundays. I don't know who the host is, but we'll let you know as soon as possible. Thank you for watching.
Boys. Thank you.